Is that my painting back there I see up on the wall? In the far back?
Probably.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, I have Peggy Judy here today with me, and welcome.
Thank you.
This is your studio or part of your house, or where we
Yes,
are?
the studio is part of the house, but yep, this is my studio.
Yep. And where are you calling from? Where is this taking place? It's in Colorado, I know that, but
Crawford, Colorado.
so tell me where Crawford is.
Kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's in the West Elk Mountains, and it's in the southwest part of the state.
Yes.
And as a crow flies, it would be about 20 minutes southwest of Aspen, but to drive it, it's about 2 hours. So
To get to Aspen. How do you get to Aspen from there?
Everything's back roads here, so it'd be
I got it. Another word, yeah, you have to go backwards. Is there another city that's close to it?
They're small.
Like, how far are you from like Cortez or one of those places?
Oh, maybe 3 hours more north of there.
You're north.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and how big is that town that you live in?
400.
400, and that's Crawford, right?
Right, that's Crawford.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I like little city, little town.
It is cool. It's a ranching community.
Yeah. Is it all ranching?
Ranching, orchards, and vineyards.
And vineyards. So we've gone, total millennial vineyard.
Yeah.
Who brought in the first vineyard? They must have been like, what?
Yeah, well, the orchard is actually the better story. It was a realtor scam in a couple 150 years ago. Some people bought up some land, thought they'd entice people to come, so they threw out some peach seeds and goes, yeah, it grows anything. Well, it actually didn't, but people went and decided we have to do what we were supposed to do. So they started orchards, and it's an amazing spot.
And so then it actually turns out to be.
It did.
Oh, so I know where you are. Crawford Peaches. Right?
Yeah.
Is it Crawford Peaches?
Yeah. And Palisades.
Yep.
Palisades peaches, Hotchkiss.
I know exactly where it is. I've had those peaches.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah. People, I used to have somebody work with me who would go up and get them when they would come off. And they were like the best peaches.
You can't compare them to anything else.
No.
I don't know why.
Yeah. That's so funny. And so when did they do that? I know this is a little off the beaten path. We're supposed to be talking about art here, but when did they put in all those orchards?
They've been in for probably 150 years or so.
Oh yeah, so for a long time. Cool.
Yeah, a long time.
About when they built the town, probably, right? The town's not much more older than that.
Right.
But now you've been involved in horses, right? For a very long time.
Started riding as a child.
Yeah.
Then it's always been part of what I do, show horses and stuff. And then when I got out of college, I graduated in '82 and a recession hit, so jobs were really scarce.
Yep.
But I picked up some training gigs, and it turned into a full-time 30-year career.
Okay, let's just go right there. We're going to go right to the beginning then. So did you grow up in southwestern Colorado? Where'd you grow up?
No, I grew up between Denver and Boulder on the Front Range of Colorado.
Okay. And what did your folks do there?
My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my father was a nuclear engineer.
Now that's interesting. So did he work at the university there?
No, he worked at Rocky Flats. The nuclear weapons plant.
Yeah. Okay. And was he involved at all? Because he's kind of at that age, probably a little too young, I guess. I was going to say with Manhattan Project kind of stuff.
It was a little bit too young for that, but he was in the original Star Wars, the laser system.
Yeah.
So,
I actually have handled collections from 3 different nuclear physicists that were involved in the Manhattan Project.
Oh, wow. Now I heard stories, but he was too young.
Yeah, he was too young. Okay. So he was a smart guy, obviously, clearly very brilliant.
Yeah, very smart.
Yeah. And did you have brothers and sisters?
I do. I have a sister who's 2 years younger and a brother that's 5 years younger.
And what do they do?
My sister is a psychologist and my brother's an engineer.
Yeah, smarties. Yeah, they're smart.
Yeah. I'm the one that cleaned stalls and painted pictures.
You're the smartest of all, though.
Yeah, right.
Some respects.
Yeah.
You may be the happiest of all. I don't know.
I think I just might be, yes.
Yeah.
No complaints here.
So when you were growing up as a kid in like middle school or even grade school, clearly, of course, science and those kind of things were important to your family. Your dad, I'm sure, emphasized those. But and clearly, at least one of your siblings went into something that's along that lines. But were you interested in art at that point when you were just a little kid?
Yeah, from the very beginning, probably when I was 2.
Wow.
I
What do you
knew.
say too? Did your mom tell you that, or do you have memories?
I have memories, yeah, and they just slathered me with art supplies.
Ah, so they saw it.
Yeah, and my grandfather was an illustrator, and
Oh,
my dad was a wonderful artist, but my grandfather told him there's no way to make money as an artist. Then he went into engineering.
and so your grandfather, did he make his living as an illustrator?
For the Denver Post and the Rocky Mountain News, and he was a lithographer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a long time ago for him, right?
A very long time ago. He came in on a train into Denver from Austria, and he was living there. He was kind of wild man. He went to the Klondike during the gold rush, and he was all about taking risks.
Wow. So he did the Klondike, then he came back to Colorado. Yeah, did he? I take it he didn't find his.
No, he did not find. He didn't find his gold. No.
But he was.
But,
I was gonna say, was he a professionally trained artist?
no, I don't think so.
But that's what he did.
Yeah, that's what he did. If he did it, he did it in Austria because he came here as a young man. But I have no idea.
Oh,
But he's very good.
and when was his life? I'm just curious what kind of time frame.
Let's see. He died at 96 and I was 6. So
Yeah, so you met him.
yeah, a long time ago.
Do you remember him at all?
Oh, very well.
I was
Yeah.
just curious because if you had talked about art or had he seen your art or any of that kind of stuff.
He gave me a set of his old oil paints.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But your dad was also a very good artist as well.
Excellent artist. Yeah.
Do you
But
think he had any regrets at all that his dad said, don't do this? This is not the way to make a living, and he didn't do that?
no, because his engineering career had to be creative too. So that was his outlet.
Yeah. Okay. So he was okay with his, but
Yeah.
he slathered you, as you said, in art supplies and stuff. So
Right.
yeah.
And
So,
they were all about it.
oh, that's good. That's very helpful.
Very helpful.
Were you winning any little awards in like grade school or middle school, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I was pretty much the art kid, the go-to. Yeah.
Yeah. You were always the art kid, right?
I was always the art kid. Yeah. And it was easier for me because then I wouldn't have to speak to anybody. I could just draw my pictures and do my thing and not have to be up there in front of anybody or talk.
In other words, you like being an introvert and enjoy that.
Yeah. Comfortable in my own skin and oh, you too. Good.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I'd much rather have this conversation with one person than I would, 50.
Yeah. Gallery openings are the worst.
Yeah.
Do not like those.
No, I get it. I understand. Yeah. And so, so you're the class artist. And when you get to high school, what were you thinking you might want to do at that point in time? Were you still doing art in high school?
Yeah, I was. I wanted to go to art school. And I love science too. And my advanced biology teacher wanted me to go into medical illustration. But and it was fun, but it seemed very limiting. And
yeah, you were right about that.
Yeah. And I didn't, know which direction to go as far as school. So when I applied for colleges, I did DU, University of Denver, CSU, Pratt in New York, St. Mary's in Leavenworth, Kansas, private girls' school. Got scholarships to every one of them except CSU, and that's the one I picked. My dad's like, yay, thanks.
And why is that? Of course, who knows when you're 18, but do you know why that you picked that versus like Pratt? Pratt's a big school.
Yeah, a long way away from home, though.
Yeah, that's what I wondered.
Yeah. I think my parents were happy that I stayed within, 2 hours.
Right.
So, and CSU does have a very good art school.
And
though looking back on it, it was limiting too. I mean, you're kind of at the the mercy of your professors and what their goals are and what their interests are. And
Yes.
kind of a shame. I've looked at art around me for the last 10 years going, wow, I didn't even know this was a thing. I never heard of this person or this art. And
Right.
I'm like, why didn't I hear that in school? Why didn't I hear that in art history? I took 5 years of it, but
And were they pushing more modern art and that
very
kind of?
much. And a lot of Soviet art for some reason. I think one of my professors was really into the communist influence. The art was interesting, but
Yeah, and a lot of that's much more kind of it's more realism with kind of a heavy impasto, impressionistic kind of. Some of that stuff is absolutely beautiful, I must admit.
No, it is, but when that's all you see, it's kind of it's fun to see what's out there. I mean,
Yeah,
it's almost embarrassing when I hear names of artists and I'm like, oh gosh, I got to go look that one up. It's a big deal. I had no idea.
Yeah. And so what kind of art were you doing in college? What were they making you do, or what were you doing?
Well, my emphasis was in illustration. It's kind of a funny story it's a 5-year degree. And whenever you had to fill out a form, you had to fill out what your concentration was. And I would write illustration and I would be called into the office and say, we don't have illustration, it's graphic design. I'm like, okay, so I go back to my little cubicle and do my thing. Next time I have to fill out a form, I put in an illustration again. By the time I graduated, I went to my advisor and he goes, okay, you won, we have illustration. So.
So you graduated with an illustration degree.
Uh-huh.
And what do you do with that? What was your hope, or what was the plan with that?
No clue. Denver had several illustrating studios, very good ones, nationally renowned. But in 82, when the recession hit, they shut down. Everything shuttered. So it was all, just pick up work here and there. So, but
And
then
were you still living at home at that point?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. So you graduate from college, you got a illustration degree. This is in 82 that you graduate? Yeah, that was right at the recession. And we had inflation was extremely high.
It was.
Yeah, it was higher than it is now. People think it's so high now, but it's like I got a car loan, I think, in about 82 that was somewhere around 18%, I think.
I know. Exactly. Even home loans were up in the 20s.
Yeah. So so what did you do? So there's not a lot of work, but you're dedicated to be an artist. But what happens? Do you meet your husband and things change, or what did you do?
Yeah, well, I had my horses and I was showing horses and I was picking up training things, and that takes a lot of time, and it was good money. And it's what I love to do. And I had to get an exam done on one of my show horses for insurance purposes. So I contacted the veterinary hospital that I used, and they said, okay, well, which vet do you want? And I said, well, anybody except so-and-so, which I just didn't like. And they said, oh, we'll send out Dr. Judy. I'm like, ooh, I'm not really good with women vets either. The receptionist said, oh dear, he is so not a woman. So he came out. 11 days later, we were engaged. 2 months later, we were married, and we've been married for almost 35 years. So yeah, it took over my life. And
wow, 11 days, it was just over, right? That was it.
It was over.
And you were like 21 or 23.
No, I was actually 28.
Okay, you were older. Okay, so
I was older.
So when you graduated from college, you work as an illustrator, but you at that point not work so much as an illustrator, but do more with show horses?
Oh, it's about half and half. I did get a lot of jobs. At that time, you don't have the internet, so you look in the paper. So you go through the classifieds, and someone says I need work, and I'd be there.
I see. Yeah, so you worked for 6 years as an illustrator.
And then I also worked at the same nuclear weapons plant that my dad did. He was long since retired, and I went in as an illustrator. So I worked on technical illustrations.
And what kind of illustrations would you do?
Pictures of bombs.
Yeah.
Yeah, blow up illustrations, the blown apart explosive views and things.
Yeah,
It
interesting.
wasn't exciting, but it was fun. It was a puzzle.
Yes.
We didn't have the computers to do it, so it was done by hand.
So how do you, when you're trying to show how a bomb explodes and you don't have computers, I guess you go to books and things like that to see
Yeah.
what it would look like?
Yeah, and you have parts and pieces in front of you, and you take them apart
Oh,
and
interesting.
you draw them. Explosive views, like that's what you see in the books and the magazines and
Uh-huh.
the technical things. Yeah. So
Was part of you at that point going, God, there's some other things I would like to do with this? I mean, were you thinking of fine art at all, or were you really
no.
just focused, I can do books and magazines and different companies and that kind of stuff?
Yeah. And it was very similar to college, where in my classes, they say in illustration class, you'd come at the beginning of a project and the only information you got was a phrase or a title.
Mm.
And you didn't even know who, your pretend client was. Now you have to take that title and make it a campaign, which, was a lot of fun. So very similar to what I was doing later on.
Yeah, that's creative.
Yeah.
Super creative. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but Dr. Judy, I mean, Dr.
Yeah.
he just bowled you over, clearly.
Did. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
And
he was an introvert as well. He's probably worse than I was. I mean, he was downright shy. And the joke was, how do we ever meet? Because neither one of us would speak. And it was inward.
Is that part of you think the attraction that you were both so shy? I use the word shy.
Yeah, I think it's more just
It's not really that.
reserved. It's not shy. It's not
Because
crippling.
I'm an introvert and I'm not shy
No,
at
it's
all.
not crippling at all.
No.
And I'm cool with alone. It's just fine.
Yeah. And what does he like to do alone?
Well, work has been pretty much it for him.
Yeah.
Getting through vet school. He's from Kansas.
Yeah.
He put himself through vet school working as a feedlot cowboy and rodeo.
What kind of cowboy?
Feedlot.
Okay. I know what that is.
Yeah. And so he did that all the way through college and part of vet school when he would be home. And then he'd make tuition money by saddle bronc riding. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So he was good at that, clearly.
Very good. Yeah.
And
school wasn't as expensive then as it is now either.
So he would go and do rodeo.
He had rodeo.
And was that in college or was that?
Yeah, in college.
Yeah.
Because once he graduated from vet school, he hit the ground running. He packed up his truck, and in one day he was in Colorado with a hospital that had offered him a job right away. Yes. And he didn't stop working. He worked.
Did he do just the rodeo when he was in college, and it was strictly for the money? It was strictly for money. Yeah, interesting.
To feed himself and to pay tuition and books.
Yeah. Oh, he sounds like an interesting guy.
Very. Yeah. Now he's roping again though, so
he's roping good. Again.
Now he has fine rope.
He's retired now.
No, it's just it's different here in a rural area than in Boulder, where we had a full-time hospital, which was you had other veterinarians working underneath you, surgeons, technicians,
right,
all that stuff. So it just never stopped. But here he can kind of set his own hours and do weekends and things.
And he's mainly a big animal vet?
Just horses.
Strictly horses, nothing else.
Strictly horses, nothing else. He'll do cattle for neighbors and things, but for the most part, it's just horses.
That was the connecting bond too, I would think, somewhat, is the horses for you, both of you, right?
Right. He was rodeo and I was dressage, if you're familiar with that.
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
And did you compete as well?
I did.
Yeah.
And I trained riders and horses. We bred sport horses. So we bred the kind of horses that I would use, and then sold them and bred more and sold them. And yep, that was my life. So there wasn't a lot of time for art, and I really didn't even enter my mind.
Yeah, your mind had flipped, and now you're an entrepreneur for one thing, really, right? Because
always been self-employed.
Yeah, you're raising horses, a specific kind of thing, and those are not inexpensive animals.
No.
And then you start raising kids, right? You have two kids,
Yep. I
right?
have 2 children.
Yep.
Mhm.
So art just kind of went to the side.
Right. Other than helping my kids with their art projects and things for school.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you would do that, was there like ever like this pain of like, I know I can do this and this is what I trained for?
No,
Nope. You
no,
were all in. You were just
I was
in.
all
Yeah.
because breeding the sport horses and training up to Grand Prix is an art form in itself. So it was felt the same.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I
So there
totally
was,
get it.
I
Yeah.
wasn't like,
You were fulfilled creatively.
yeah, it was the same idea.
Yeah. And so how long did you do that? Well, first of all, when did you move to Crawford?
6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and before that, you were still back up in that.
The
Boulder-
Boulder area.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I see.
Boulder.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So 6 years ago, why did you move to Crawford?
Kind of funny is that my daughter graduated from college. She was our youngest.
Yeah,
So she was off the payroll, as my husband would say.
yeah,
And we were out in our front yard doing yard work, and our facility, our farm and hospital were connected. And one of the clients drove up, and she's a realtor. And my husband, it's hot, tired of, it was just a long Saturday afternoon mowing the lawns and whatever. And he says, Larissa, sell this. Yeah. I'm
Right.
not going to say what he called it. He goes, and she just laughed, but to her credit, she showed up the next day with contracts. And we kind of went, oh crap.
yeah,
We assumed we'd be there forever, because it's not a little bit of money.
right,
And it's a big investment, time and everything, and not exactly something that everybody in the world's going to want to buy.
right.
So, she shows up with it, and we kind of look at each other and we're like, oh, heck, let's try. So we figured the house would sell first. It was 2 separate properties, but it was the farm that sold first. So now we're like, oh, crap, no income. And then we bought an RV, traveled the state, found something we thought was beautiful, and planted it.
I see. And so your kids were gone. It was
Yep.
time for you to do whatever you wanted.
Right. Yeah. Because, to tell you how much my husband worked, our only vacation together was our honeymoon. We'd never gone anywhere. He'd
Wow.
never taken a day off.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's
30 some years.
that's not good.
Yeah.
I
No,
understand it, but it's not good.
no. But yeah, we came here and we actually bought 40 acres of Joe Cocker's Mad Dog Ranch
Oh, interesting.
a few months after he died. We bought it from his widow.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I remember hearing him sing once in Aspen, actually.
Yeah.
He was amazing. So when you bought that, so you got rid of your farm, the ranch and a farm, I guess.
Mhm.
So you had all these horses too, right?
Right.
And so what did you do with all the horses? Are they coming with you to Crawford, or you said, no, we're going to make a clean sweep here?
No, all those horses by that time, 5 years prior to, it became more lucrative to sell the horses, keep them in training. And so they actually made income, but I didn't have to own them. Does that make
I see.
sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So I had no actual livestock myself. It was just the training and teaching.
Yeah, but you're going to lose all that income when you go to Crawford.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So just before that, like when I said, my daughter gets off the payroll, then I go to
Right.
an art store, like I'm gonna go pick up some paints and a brush and see if I still know how to do this. So
Mm.
I
That
did,
was-
and
That
it
was
was
6
fun.
that was 6 years ago.
Yeah, 6-7 years ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. Mhm.
Yeah, somewhere.
But it was fun, and I kind of built up a little pile of paintings that I liked. And a friend goes, oh, I'll represent you. I'll take it around to galleries. That didn't work. Because that's just not how it's done. You just don't walking off the street. So I'm like, okay, well, I have the internet. I have Southwest Art Magazine. I flip through it, see some galleries that I think might fit and
Right.
be interesting. So I email them. Didn't hear anything for a few weeks. After about 4 weeks, I guess I get a phone call from a gallery in Basalt, just outside of Aspen, very nice gallery. And she said that we'd like to represent you. We'd like to see some of your work in person. And I'm like, I can be there tomorrow. You know, it's a 6-hour drive, no problem. I said, how many pieces would you like to see? She says, oh, just a couple. I brought a trailer,
Yeah.
well over 25, 30 pieces.
That's a smart move, by the way, to do that.
Really? Well, it
It-
worked. They took them
yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And I left them there. They gave me some insights as to pricing because I had no idea. I did not know what I was doing, but they were
Right.
very helpful and fair. And I'm still with them. But I drove home. I get about 15 minutes from home, 6-hour drive. I get a phone call. I'm like, oh crap, it's them. They fired me already. But they just want to let me know they sold 2 pieces off the floor before they got them hung.
Wow.
Yeah, and then it just took off from there. It was
Yeah, what does that feel like? What did that feel like to you for that, when they said that?
just kind of surreal. Like this has actually happened, and I better enjoy it. It's probably going to be the only time this ever happens.
Yeah, I get it. You were thinking you're faking it, right? I'm a faker, right?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. This cannot possibly work, but
They
I
call
love,
they call that imposter syndrome. Did you know that? There's an actual name for it.
well, I still feel it.
Yeah, no, most people, yeah, there's a lot of great actresses and actors and things that, Oscar winners, and they feel like, that people are going to find out they can't really act, but of course they can,
They can.
but it's just how they feel. So
Yeah.
I would think some of that comes from the fact that it's been a while, that you had a break, this long-term break, and then it's hard to imagine you come in and all of a sudden you hit it, but it was there all the time. You just
Right.
put it aside.
And it's kind of nice that I didn't start it when I was younger, because you learn a lot about life, just living your life. So I wasn't coming in at my early 20s. I already had an idea how businesses worked.
Right.
I had to speak to people.
Yeah.
I had to do it, in my other job. So I wasn't so green coming in.
Yeah, and you can also take, I think, disappointment easier too.
Yeah.
You're more
Yeah, because
willing
it's not
to
a defeat,
fail.
it's just a stumbling block.
Right. Yeah, because you've gone through defeats. You've already lived life. You've already
Mhm.
raised kids. You've
Yeah.
had horses come and go. You've learned all the
Right.
the hard kicks, literally in some cases.
You've taken the hard knocks, right?
Yeah.
And that's not the end of the world.
Right.
And sometimes it's just one person's opinion. I don't have to take it.
Right. What did your husband think about what you were doing?
He thought it was really cool, knows nothing about it. But very supportive. And it was one of the reasons we were able to move, is I all of a sudden had a steady income from the art. And, when we didn't have near the expenses. So
Yes.
coming here made it, it was a fresh start, but with a history, Again, we had an understanding, we had a solid grounding, and we weren't starting fresh, maybe in a new place, but we weren't babies.
Right. And did you at all start doing the teaching for horses at all when you were in Crawford, or do you just say, no, that's it?
Occasionally, someone will ask for help, and yeah, I'll give some advice, but no, no, I'm done.
Yeah. So the last 7 to 8 years, you've been a full-time painter.
The only horses I ride are my husband's roping horses.
Uh-huh. Is that for fun?
For fun and to keep him tuned up.
Yeah. Does he still and he's roping now?
He's roping, yeah.
Yeah.
But he's not fond of getting on and getting the bucks out of one of them, or getting a little hitch out of an attitude. So that's my job. I like it. Yeah.
Your job is to get on there and to break them a little.
Yeah, keep him tuned up so that he doesn't have to.
Why do you like that? It seems dangerous.
I guess it could be, but it's not as wild and woolly as you think. There's a creative process to it and an understanding of each particular animal.
Yes.
So
that must be the creative part you like about it.
Yeah. Yeah. That part I'd never want to walk away from.
Mm-hmm. What do you, I'm not a horse person, but I've always been drawn to horses.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about horses that?
I have no idea, but yeah.
It's real,
ever
right?
since I was little,
right?
Yeah, there's nothing like them.
Yeah, they have something. My
Mhm.
parents literally wouldn't let me, they'd always have to distract me if we went by horses because I'd want them to stop and, get out and feed them or whatever. And I've always avoided going in with horses because I thought that I would immediately be just completely hooked in that
Oh,
world.
if you're already feeling that, yeah, you're hooked. Come visit.
Yeah, I felt that way my whole life. So that's why I've kind of not done it.
Yeah, you might be in trouble.
Yes, okay, good. Yeah, that was what I felt like. So when you start up again as an artist, what did you decide to paint, and what kind of media did you want to use? I mean, because that's, it's been a while. You've gone from complete illustration,
Mhm.
technical stuff to now what? So what did you decide to do and what did you use?
I went to acrylics just because people were saying, oh, they're so much easier and they dry faster and
Right.
this and that. And yeah, it was fun, but oils, I did some oils in college and I wanted to get back to it. It just seemed more real, more sophisticated,
Uh-huh.
and a challenge.
The oils.
Mhm.
Yes.
I didn't find them to be a challenge, but I found them to be absolutely wonderful. I
Mm,
did not struggle with it. It
mm.
just was a perfect fit.
And so
And
what subject matter did you, I mean, we know where this is probably headed, but
I,
what subject matter did you go, okay, I'm going to paint like this, or I'm going to try this?
um, it was obviously painting horses because that's what I knew inside and out,
Right,
obviously.
right.
But um, I didn't have a style.
Yeah.
Well, sort of did. Actually, that actually got me in trouble my freshman year in college. I had a roommate who was also an art major, and we had a very simple project to do. We had to draw an item 5 different times in 5 different styles,
Mm,
just small 10 by 10 type thumbnail things.
right.
For whatever reason, she was struggling it when she was coming down to the wire. I'm like, I'll do it for you. Finish mine, did hers. She got an A
Yeah.
and I got an F. And then I got pulled out by the instructor afterwards. And he said, if you ever do that again,
Yeah.
that's it. And I said, how did you know? He goes, you have a style. I'm like, how do I have a style? I was 18 years old. But yeah,
Yeah.
that stuck with me forever. That
Yeah.
was cheating. I got caught.
Yeah, well, though you were trying to help somebody.
Right.
We'll say that. And it probably came easy for you and you didn't think it was a big deal and kind of
I
fun.
didn't think it was a big deal at all. I was just trying to get her out of a bind.
Yeah, that's funny. And so when you start painting, this clearly still in your head, this moment of
Mhm,
you have a style. So
mhm.
did you try to focus in and go, okay, I know innately I have a style. I've always had it. What do I do with that?
I fought it.
Mm,
Actually, I didn't want that style because that looked like me and I wanted to be better than me.
mm,
So I tried to be more representational, like, if you look in any art history book or go to
right.
any gallery, and that I was just so impressed with that. But I would start that way and it'd always go off, it'd veer
You
off
wanted
to,
you wanted to be tighter, like very,
yeah, I wanted to
yeah,
be tighter. And I just wanted to be like the big boys.
right. Frederick Remington or whatever.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
very
Mhm.
tight. But you found that being looser really was who you were.
Yeah. And I just decided, why fight it?
Right.
So I
Well,
stopped fighting it.
also I think you can show in some respects movement a lot better and a lot more succinctly when you're looser, personally.
Yeah. Hmm. And things that I found difficult to paint, I found that if I didn't like if it were a figure or something mechanical, if I broke it down into just shapes, I didn't get, I don't know how to say this. I was able to solve the problem.
Mm,
I didn't get intimidated by the subject. I turned the subject into a puzzle, very much like when I was doing the explosive views of
right,
the machined parts.
right.
Yeah, it became a problem to solve rather than something that was intimidating and I wasn't going to succeed.
Mm. And what do you think has helped you the most to go forward? I mean, clearly have made great strides, because I'm going to show you in a show that we're having. We'll talk about that in a little bit. You know, you're going to be in a group show that I'm having. But what do you think it is that propelled you to get right in the saddle, so to speak? Did you work with any other artists or have any mentors, or you just said, I'm going for it, this is it, I just have to paint, 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 paint?
Right. That's exactly how I did the dressage training, is I did it on my own. I would save my money, get an airline ticket, fly to a show on the East Coast or West Coast where the Olympians were showing and training. And I'd sit on the rail and listen to the coaches talk to the riders, warming them up for their classes and things. And that's so and then for the art, I would go to a gallery. I'd pick a gallery or a museum show and just go and look. Again, I'm not good at asking for help, so I just figured I would clean as much as I can from either eavesdropping or absorbing it visually. And that's how I've always done everything.
And did you go on the internet and use any videos or anything like that?
Nope, still haven't done that. Yours is the first podcast I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
I just got Starlink, so now I have it.
Yeah, you
at my fingertips.
You just got the internet. Just
right.
That's so funny. And so when you would go to these openings, gallery openings, what were you hoping to learn? Were you hoping to learn the business of art, or were you hoping to pick up something imagery wise and see things? Because as an artist, you can look at a painting and see how it's laid down, and you can tell things just by looking at it that others can't.
Yeah, technique was something I'd look for, but what I found was inspiration of how a painting struck me emotionally, either overwhelmed because of its incredible beauty, or its light, or its use of color, or just the boldness of the strokes. Not necessarily was it technically, great, but I can say one instance. My daughter, she went to Leeds School of Business at CU for marketing, and she had to, and for whatever reason, she loved art history and got a minor in that. But she had to do a project at the Denver Art Museum, had some architect that she had to go see the work. So I said, I'll go down with you. So she went to look at the architectural show, and I just started wandering around. Well, they had the show that was just closing up of the Taos Society, which I had never seen in person.
Oh, wow.
I thought I was going to cry.
Oh, yeah.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I haven't even touched the surface of what can be done.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of stuff. It might only be a 2-minute reflection, but it stays with me forever, and it kind of prods you on to try new things and explore.
Yeah, that's a hard one to see as a big one when you're just going into it, because they're so good.
Oh, I mean, I'd seen it in magazines, and I'd seen them in books and catalogs. You can't begin to describe.
Yeah, no, a great Blumenschein or Dutton or Higgins, all those are just insane. Yeah.
My head was spinning, just absolutely spinning.
Yeah. So you go to this gallery, they immediately start selling your work. And then, so what do you do as a business? You go, okay, this is, at some point fairly quickly, you realize I've got whatever it is that they want, I'm selling. Do you go reach out to other galleries, or do they start reaching out to you?
They started reaching out to me.
Yeah.
Because I figured one is good, I'm cool.
Yeah.
But no, they reached out to me, and I thought, and I did make a mistake. I accepted pretty much any gallery that was interested.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I couldn't produce the work, but I did realize that not all galleries are the same.
Right.
And they're not always a great fit.
Yeah.
So.
And what makes them not a great fit? I mean, I know the answer, but I want to hear it from you.
Communication's a big thing.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
I think the gallery has to be I have to reach out to work with the gallery, but I feel that they need to reach out to me too. Again, it's a communication. I feel that there's a relationship and there's a fairness.
Yeah.
I mean, the galleries that didn't work out were not in it as a partnership, and it was quite obvious.
Mm, yeah.
So,
yeah. They looked at
and I
you
think
as a product.
a product,
Yeah.
and that doesn't always, no. Maybe if I were 22, 23 and doing it, you betcha. But I'm
No.
a grown up now.
Yeah, not even as 22, 23. You should, I
It
mean,
shouldn't happen.
no, it should be a no-go.
Right.
I'm afraid a lot of galleries are just like that. It's,
Yeah.
it's strictly a business. That's okay, I guess,
Yeah.
but
And these were galleries that they're very well known.
Yeah.
I would never say anything against them. I will just keep it in the back of my head. That's a no-go.
yeah, got it. Yeah, I understand it. And so galleries kept reaching out because you have a lot of galleries on your website. And do you want to why don't you give your website while you're here so people can go to your website?
Okay, it's peggyjudyfineart.com.
Yeah. Did you ever think about, it's PeggyJudyFineArts.com. Do you ever think about going ahead and buying Judy Peggy FineArts.com? Because I'm sure people must flip that on a regular
constantly.
basis. Yeah.
Constantly,
right?
yeah.
I mean, it's just
Yeah,
I
it's
can
a
only
horrible
imagine.
last name.
What was your maiden name?
Roth.
Peggy Roth. Yeah. So you went from Peggy.
That worked.
Yeah. That's so funny. And I found your work on Instagram, I think is how I found it. In fact, I know it is. So we'll talk about what I'm doing, which is rare because these aren't about me, but we're doing a rodeo show, Rodeo de Tucson, to coincide with the 98th event of the rodeo here in Tucson, which is a big deal. I mean, we're probably the largest city in America and probably the only one that shuts down the school systems for a week just to do the rodeo, right? We don't have spring break, we have rodeo week. And I've always been fascinated with the rodeo. I like rodeo, I like to watch it, and I really enjoy it. And some of my artists actually were rodeo people too. And I just thought, it'd be great to do a show that's just dedicated to the rodeo, but the whole gamut, not just really tight and all that, but very modern things too. I mean, the inspiration, right? And I found your work. So this is in my mind. I'm looking for these kind of individuals because it's not just my artists, because I have great artists, but there's also other people that really have something that can add to the dialogue. And I saw your work and I'm like, oh yeah, that's something that's different and unique, and I really like it. And it just struck me, and it was like, I'm definitely going to reach out to this person and see if maybe they can get me some work for the show. And hopefully you're going to come down, right, for the show too.
I am.
February 3rd.
Yep, it's
know
on my
where you
calendar.
are. You'll be hidden in a corner.
I know.
See your artwork. And I'm going to tell everybody, go talk to her. She loves to talk. She loves to meet people. I won't be that mean, I promise.
Sometimes I need the prod.
Yeah. So, but that is, and we'll put some imagery up on the video part of this podcast. So I know this is the first podcast you've listened to, but we do it video as well as audio. So we'll put some of the images, like the one behind you, which we can only see the legs, but it's that there's definitely, it makes sense now, why it would resonate so well with me is that you went to your style, your inner voice, right? And B, horses, rodeo too.
Yeah.
I mean, intimately.
Yeah.
You think those are critically important when you're going to do painting?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. You have to understand it. Whether it's historical or what I see, on a daily basis here, going to the ranch, the brandings and the weanings and all that. And it's hot, or it's freezing cold. It's dusty. It's dirty. It's loud. It's violent. It's dangerous. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so I want to put that out there. I want to show the world that it still exists, not just in history books.
Right. Yeah, it's real. It's
real. I mean, these people that are putting their lives on the line in the nitty gritty world of ranching are feeding the world, and that's forgotten.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing to make people realize, or at least give them the opportunity to,
Yeah,
learn.
it's a true American culture.
Right. And it's not gone. It's still here.
No, it's I have a couple artists that are like that. Jan Mapes also.
I know Jan.
Yeah, she would be. Yeah. And how did you meet Jan? Just curious.
Just
Birds
through
of
the
a
art
feather.
shows.
Through
Yeah.
what?
Just through the art galleries.
Yeah.
She also is at one of the galleries that represents me, the one in Basalt, the Core Logos Gallery.
Yeah. And have you found it difficult at all as far as just being a woman artist in the Western field? Does that seem with two women's name as your
Honestly,
no getting out the fact that you're a female artist, right?
Right. Honestly, I didn't give it much thought until some of the, you look into some of the bigger shows just to see what's going on, and you run through the list of artists. And then it kind of dawned on me that there's only a handful of women, scattered around on those lists. And I just kind of wondered, why are women not involved in Western art, or is there another reason? And I don't know, but there's definitely something missing. And then when you do look into some of the statistics historically, women aren't paid as much and they're not as involved.
Yeah.
But it may be just that women weren't in the art field. I mean, they had families to raise and things like that. So maybe there's something to it, but
there is. I'm sure there is something to it. When you look at it, I ask these questions because I do think there is something there. And so, I think that having dialogues like this are good, so the world can go, oh yeah, maybe we, should look at other people too, not just, men, but it should be, I always think it should be like The Voice, really. And I think, just your chairs are turned around. You can't see who the individual is. You just have to look at the artwork, and the artwork should really be what's propelling you to going, so,
absolutely.
I think it would have been very easy for me to do this rodeo show and just, get there's a lot of rodeo guys that are painting rodeo stuff there, and exclude the other half. So
right.
I could see that happening, and especially if you have any biases, just biases that you don't even know about. These are biases that you don't think about, right? They're just like, oh, it's rodeo men, they kind of go hand to hand. Well, guess what? Your husband who rode Broncos, money, lets his wife do the breaking of the horses now.
Yeah, that's it.
Right. So, I mean, I think you understand a thing or two about that. So,
yeah, I do.
Yeah, I do. And it clearly shows in your work. And I'm excited to have your work in this show. I think it's going to be a great addition. And not only that, but just to get to meet you in person. So where's your road from here, right? Okay, you've been doing this now for 8 years. You've become very successful. You're in numerous galleries, and you have looks like probably a lot of people on Instagram that follow you as well. And how did you build that up, by the way? You had quite a few followers, I think, right?
Yeah, almost 20,000.
Yeah, that's a lot, actually.
That's a lot. I communication again, I guess. And what I have found, I teach a few workshops a year just because I like to teach, and I'm not teaching writing anymore. So, and I do like to teach. What I found was the students come in almost hesitant because everything's a secret. I have no secrets. I mean, I will spill my guts and tell you how to do it, and tell what I did, how I screwed things up, where it was successful, where it wasn't. And because everyone's going to have their own voice. You can take everything I teach you and you make it your own. So, I want to teach more a little, to a point. And I want to, I want to challenge myself. I want to get bigger pieces. They're harder to get to the galleries, but I'm
Good.
not
Give those to me, please.
okay. um, yeah, I want to stretch,
Yeah.
be a little braver.
I think you should also have your husband video you when you're out there on one of those horses that you're breaking. Put it on
Well,
Instagram.
they're past bucking too much now. We've got one we call Bucky because that's what he'll do when you first step up.
Oh gosh.
But as a heading horse for my husband, he's a machine. Once he gets those few little bucks out of him.
Yeah, he's probably a horse whisperer, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He has to be. I mean,
Yeah, he's very good. He's very good.
yeah, he knows everything about a horse, I'm sure, as you do too. You know, it's just like any animal. I feel that way around rattlesnakes, which is, I just feel very comfortable around them. And other people would be, that seems weird, but I know their behavior. I know how they act. I'm not afraid.
And they're there.
Yeah, I think that's probably a lot with horses, isn't it? The fact if they can feel the fear in you,
Oh, they definitely smell it. That's a
Yeah.
given. Yeah.
I would think so. I would think
The
it's
pheromones you put off freak them out. So if you're nervous, they're like, oh crap.
yeah.
What's around the corner? Yeah.
Maybe that's the same for humans. We just don't realize it. Wouldn't surprise me.
Maybe. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to talk about or say, or anything else you got upcoming besides the Tucson Day Rodeo in February? Oh, you have a show. You have a show that you did, right?
I just finished, a month at the A.R. Mitchell Museum in Trinidad.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Is it down now? Is it not there anymore?
I think it's still up, but the show is over. It's a huge museum, so my work is still up until I go pick it up.
Oh, nice. Okay, so let's talk about that. So that's this unknown but amazingly cool museum that's in Trinidad, Colorado, right?
And it's A.R. Mitchell. That, if you're aware of his work.
Yeah, he was an illustrator.
An illustrator that did the penny magazine covers, the weekly, like the weekly Western novels. He did those covers. And of all the zillions of paintings he made, he either sold or gave away less than 15. So all of them are still at the museum. He saved everything, and he has a lot. And in the basement of the museum, all his photographs, sketches are all being archived right now.
Wow.
So a lot of the work, a lot of the rodeo pictures I'm doing right now are the museum has allowed me to use them as reference.
That's cool. And how did they find out about you to go, I want to do a show with you?
They just contacted me a few months ago, well, maybe 6 months ago, and asked if I'd be interested. And yeah, I jump on everything.
Yeah, I mean, well,
why not?
That's a big deal. It was a one-person show, right?
Yeah, it's a solo show.
Yeah, in a museum that has really good art.
Yeah, really good art.
That must have kind of blown you away a little bit, didn't it? When you go,
it's the curator of the museum, the director of the museum, Allison Shoemaker, when I contacted her to tell her, yeah, I'd be thrilled. She said, well, I met you on Instagram. I'm one of your original followers. So there's that Instagram thing.
Isn't that amazing? It's really interesting how it changes the dynamic.
Yeah, and the communication you do through it, just in posting, like in progress work, people love in progress work because then they ask questions and then you can develop a dialogue with them. And they follow along, and then they're curious. What are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to do the next day? So that's how it grows. I know nothing about social media, but that has worked for me. And
do you post every day?
I try to.
Yeah, and let's get your Instagram account here so we can grow it some more.
Peggy Judy Fine Art.
It's the same.
Yep.
Yeah,
same thing.
Yeah, I think that's maybe a great takeaway from this, talk, not only of course about your life, which is amazing, but just that how important social media can really be.
Yeah, it gets bad-mouthed a lot, but I think it's being used incorrectly.
Yeah.
Don't post your personal stuff on there, but post educational things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got a museum, a retrospective in a museum because of it. And, not that I might not have found you somewhere else, but I mean, I found you on Instagram, and people who are professionals in the art world and who can, I feel like I can look at a piece of art on a digital component and go, wow, I can see everything I need to see. I don't have to see the painting in person. I can look
Right.
at all what you've done, and go, wow, there's something. That person has a unique voice. That's different than what I've seen. And so yeah.
And it work sells off of it. There's a generation out there now that's never seen art in person and does it just online.
Yes.
And they're very willing to buy art.
Yeah.
And it's always nice when they get the piece and they call me or write to me and they go, oh my God, I had no idea. It looks so much different in person.
Better, usually.
Different, better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're used to seeing things digitally, not in real life.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's a generation.
Yeah. So did I take you away from painting today?
Oh no, I'm good. Okay. Yeah, I do. I try to paint. Well, I try not to paint too much because I can definitely get lost, but I paint 68 hours every day.
Yeah. And you can go longer.
Yeah, I could.
Yeah, I got it. See, that's that love of what you're doing. When you can go away and just do it for 10, 12 hours nonstop, especially as we get older, that just says, I'm all in, baby. Yeah.
And time it flies. I'm like, oh crap, I have to fix dinner. I have to feed the dogs.
Yeah. Guess what? I don't think you're going to be still going on that many more vacations with your husband.
No, I talked him into going to Tucson.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. But you know what? I mean, yes, it is a vacation, but at the same time, it's an art thing. You're doing what you're doing, it's the same thing. But that's okay. You'll get to meet lots of unique and interesting artists and
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be fun. All right. So any other last words before we call it a day, Peggy? Was it fun for you? This is your first podcast you've seen and or listened to, I guess, or done.
I've seen a few of yours, but that's it. Yeah, this is my first one. It was very enjoyable.
Yeah,
I worried for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I can understand. It's like you don't know what's coming, right? Yeah. And I mean, you might have a little idea if you listen to some of them, but I'm sure it is a little bit intimidating. But
definitely,
as you have said, you've lived a life, right? And this is easy compared to shoeing a horse or whatever.
Exactly. Definitely.
Well, I look forward to receiving the paintings for our show, and I look forward to seeing you as well in person, and your husband. I'd like to meet him. He sounds like a very interesting man.
He's a piece of work, let me tell you.
Yeah, well, you clearly fell in love and got after 11 days. That's true love for sure. How many years now? 30 what?
Almost 35.
Yeah, good for you. Congratulations. All right, we will look for you soon. Thank you for taking the time, and I'll let you know when this comes out.
All right, thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye. Peggy Judy, thank you.